For the purpose of this video, I'm going to refer to chord names by the shape names. So I'm going to call this D, this G, this E minor, even though the capo means those aren't actually the chords. Right, have a listen to this. This is a D chord. If you play guitar, you're definitely going to know that chord. Sounds alright. It's a little bit boring, a bit plain. There's nothing very interesting about that chord. And most of the time when you hear it in songs, it serves a purpose, but it's not. There's nothing exciting about that chord. Now Radiohead managed to make that chord sound amazing in their song How to Disappear Completely, and it just sounds like the best chord you've ever heard when they play it in the song. So I listened to this song again last night, and I was just thinking, why does that chord sound so amazing? And what's happening in the song, I'm going to do a separate lesson on playing the song properly, but just briefly, what's happening in the song is you've got a lot of discordant sounds and a lot of harmonies that aren't really the harmonies you're expecting to hear. So slightly unnerving sounds in the background to the acoustic guitar and the vocal. So it's a song with an acoustic guitar and a vocal, really good, but just, you know, it's just a standard, someone singing, strumming a guitar that you've heard a million times, that kind of thing. And in the background throughout the song, there's all these kind of weird sounds, and just the best way to describe it is unnerving. And it almost sounds at times like the guitar and the vocal, Tom York, I assume it's him playing the acoustic, it's obviously him singing. It sounds like he's trying to ignore all this stuff that's going on to put him off what he's doing, and he's just trying to focus on what he's doing and keep going despite all this barrage of like sounds and weirdness that's going on in the background, and he's just keeping going. And I think, I haven't listened to the lyrics that carefully, but I'm sure if you looked at the lyrics, and that's all going to relate to what the lyrics are saying and what the song's about. But I'm just thinking purely musically about this. It's in E minor really, the key, but it's mostly going between C and E minor. But each of these chords has got an extra note which is being added. So on the C, you've got that which is C add 9. Nothing strange about that. That's a really nice chord. And then there's an E minor. That's got an added note. Now the added note on the E minor is kind of a sharp 5. And that is a slightly strange sound. But it works because it resolves. It's always heading for that resolution. It's always resolving back to E minor, and the key is E minor. And then in the sort of chorus section, it goes to a G. And when the G happens, that's a kind of a small version of what I'm talking about on this video, of what happens when you go to the D later in the song. When you go to the G, or when they go to the G, that's a smaller effect that's very similar. So it goes to the G and it just suddenly sounds kind of quite uplifting. And if I just play those two chords, the C to the E minor, and then go to the G. When you get that G, it's like, it's all kind of, it's not as bad as we thought it was. You know, everything that he's singing about, it just sounds a bit happier. And it's because G is the relative major of E minor. The key's E minor, G's the relative major, which means it's kind of like the happier equivalent of E minor. That's a simple way to think of it. So it goes a bit more uplifting. And the G's also got the added note that we put onto the E minor chord, which makes it a G sus4. And that just ties it in with what I've just been hearing. So that's really nice when it goes to that, and it's a bit of relief from this slightly unnerving kind of C to E minor thing with all that weird background stuff. Now the weird background stuff really builds up in the second chorus, and it's very clever because rhythmically it's nothing to do with what the guitar's playing. So you've got this kind of, this sort of rhythm, kind of a 6/8 or 12/8 sort of rhythm, and then you've got this weird weird rhythms going on in the background on like a synth or something. The bass is doing something weird. There's just all these kind of strange things going on, and rhythmically it doesn't even fit with what he's playing, and harmonically it doesn't fit. So they've put these things in there that are deliberately trying to distract you from the main guitar and vocal part, and it sounds like it's trying to distract the vocal and guitar itself. It's quite a clever kind of thing that they've tried to do there. I think they've tried to do it. I think it's just amazing. Anyway, so we want to get to this D. So it goes round and round on these chords, and you know the song, it keeps repeating these sections, and the weirdness, I feel like it kind of builds up. When it gets to the D, you've had like 3/4 of a song involving the E minor and the C, and then occasionally that G. And it gets to this D chord, and it's just the best sound you've ever heard, really. When it, after all of this, and then and why does that sound so brilliant? And I was thinking about this when I heard it, and it goes to the D twice. The second time is even better than the first time. So you've got the D. Still a bit of weirdness going on in the background, not too much. Actually, the weirdness in the background is more in tune and in harmony with the D chord. That's one of the reasons it sounds good. It's not fighting against it as much. Then it goes to the E minor. And on that E minor, that's where what I keep calling the weirdness in the background is loud, and it's loudest and it's weirdest, and it's just really fighting against the harmony of the song. After the first D, you get the E minor, and it's just like this chaos going on in the background. And then it goes to D again, and again the background noises are a bit quieter, and they're more in harmony, and that's just one of the best chords I've ever heard in any piece of music, is that second D in this. It's just the ultimate relief from what's been going on before it. So I was thinking about this, why does that D sound so amazing? And I thought, well, it's just because of what I've been talking about, these weird noises in the background to put you off the sound, and it's fighting and it's clashing. And then when it gets to the D, especially the second D, it's all just in tune and in harmony and sounds nice, and it's just a relief from what we've just heard. It's so clever, and the effect is just brilliant. You put it up loud and listen to that second D, just amazing. So there's a catch to all of this, which is that D chord, which I described, I made some notes on this when I was listening to it. It's kind of triumphant and joyous and majestic after all this kind of scary sounds and just unnerving and almost depressing sounds that you've just heard leading up to it. Now the catch is that I then looked on YouTube and I saw a live version of this song. I'm not sure, it's not from one of the recent gigs, but I think it was recent-ish, maybe in the last 10 years. It's Tom York on his own with an acoustic guitar singing this song. And when he gets to the D, the effect is pretty much as strong as it is on the original recording, and it's just Tom York with an acoustic and singing. So there's none of this other stuff that's going on, what I'm calling the weirdness. There's none of that, because it's just him, like me sitting here. It's just him and just an acoustic like this, nothing special going on, just someone strumming an acoustic and singing. And it gets to that D, and I just think the effect is pretty much as good as it is on the original. In some ways even more so, because you're watching him sing it and play it, and it gets to that bit and it's just the best thing that could have happened in a piece of music at that point. So all I've just been saying about the clever kind of arrangement and the weirdness going on and all of that to give the effect of the D, I think that's still true, but it doesn't explain why it sounds that way on the live recording. Is it maybe because I'd already heard the studio version several times before I then heard that live one. So when you hear the live one, you already know how the song sounds, so you almost fill in the gaps in your mind when you're listening to it. You're probably hearing some of that weird stuff that's going on just in your head. Maybe that's why. But so I was trying to explain it to myself, like with the music theory, and I can't really, to be honest. I mean, I was sort of looking at what the chords are in my notes. If we're in the key of E minor, which I think we are, obviously I'm ignoring the capo for these chord names and key names. We're in the key of E minor, so it's mostly going from chord 6 to chord 1, which is C to E minor. When it goes to the G, that's chord 3, but the fact it's chord 3 is not that relevant. It's more importantly the relative major, like I was talking about. So you're on E minor, and you go to G. It's like a more uplifting version of E minor, or happier version. And when it goes to D, that's chord 7. It kind of feels like it should resolve a bit, the D chord, you know, in a key. Chord 7 feels like it wants to go to chord 1. I mean, tell me what you think about that. It's not a really strong chord for sort of wanting to resolve, but it kind of wants to go to chord 1, because really D wants to go to G. That's when you hear a D chord, part of your brain wants to then hear a G chord afterwards. It's because D is chord 5 of G. Chord 5 always wants to go to chord 1, usually. Well, so D kind of wants to go to G, but we're in the key of E minor, which is the relative of G. Hopefully this is making sense. So it's a bit like it wants to resolve, but it's resolving to the minor rather than the major. And as soon as you get the E minor, you've got the strange sharp 5 thing going on. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not necessarily coming on here to explain all of this, because I can't explain it musically why it has that effect when he just played it on his own. But I'd quite like to hear what other people think about this. I think it's worth talking about this song and thinking about this song. I've recently been trying to get into that album, the Kid A album, which I can't, and I'm a really big Radiohead fan. I can't really seem to get into that album, so you can slate me in the comments for that. The Bends is one of my favourite ever albums, but absolutely could be my favourite ever album, but it's certainly up there in the top 2 or 3 or 4 albums, I think, for me. OK Computer I really like Pablo Honey. In Rainbows is also one of my top few albums. So I'm a big Radiohead fan, but Kid A I can't really get into. But this song is just mind-blowing, I think. And that D, especially the second D, is so brilliant. So what do you think? Why does that D sound so good? Is it because of some of the things I've been saying, or have you got other reasons for that? Be interested to know your thoughts on that. So please put them in the comments if you've got any. Okay, I'm going to do a lesson on this song anyway, because I think it's worth doing. I'm sure there's plenty of others, but I've worked out what I think are the right chords, and I'll go through the rhythm and everything with you, so I'll do that separately. But yeah, if you like this video, please click like, and definitely put your thoughts in the comments if you've got any. Okay, thanks.